What do Half-Life 2, Dishonored, Prey, Counter-Strike, Kingpin, and Redneck Rampage have in common? Each one was graced by the unique touch of Viktor Antonov's genius. The artful, eerie, dominating, painting-like atmosphere and the absolutely unmistakable visual language of his. I'm positive that Viktor's creativity and powerful vision was the secret sauce that brought those titles commercial and critical success. Hi, and thanks for clicking on my video. Today I want to pay tribute to the visionary artist who influenced an entire industry and brought countless hours of excitement and joy to countless people all over the world, Viktor Antonov. And as he said in one of his interviews himself, he has touched millions of people of all nations and ages in the best way possible via his work. This video is my tribute to one of the most influential visionary artists who elevated video game production to a whole new level and inspired a new generation of artists and developers, on top of awing people on a global scale. On February 7th, 2025, we lost a true legend, and in my opinion, Viktor Antonov deserves more recognition. It's truly a tragedy that he had to go just 2 days after his 53rd birthday. So much more could have been done. But alas, we all have to go sometime. Too bad it was so soon for Viktor. But despite how tragic it is, let's focus on how he immortalized himself with his work. Sid Mead, Hugh Ferris, Scott Robertson, Neville Page, Koji Miyamoto, and of course, Lebbeus Woods. These artists were clear and not so clear sources of inspiration for Antonov's work. In the case of Woods, the inspiration is definitely most obvious. However, Antonov himself never mentioned Lebbeus in any of his interviews. Otherworldly, alien, and completely outside-the-box designs and creations are a perfect fit for a video game setting. Obviously, there's less limits on size and budget of the buildings in the virtual environment. And the sense of oppression and invasion was definitely the main theme for Viktor. After moving from Sofia to Paris at the age of 17 and studying transportation design, he was involved with Zaytrix Entertainment and worked as an artist for the game Redneck Rampage. I know, we all need to start somewhere. The humble beginnings. His first actual project was Kingpin Life of Crime. He then worked with the teams at Valve, Arcane Studios, Machine Games, id Software, and then later a few others as a consultant. Redneck Rampage was a game that attracted most players by its very pretty visuals. In my opinion, it's the best looking build game of its era, although the keys are very hard to see and it's definitely lacking in the actual gameplay department. The whole thing feels as if it was meant as a joke, and of course, it's a very convenient excuse for any of its shortcomings, of which there are so many. The constant use of crude profanity and even cruder noises gets old really fast, and honestly I applaud anyone who suffered through the entire thing. I'm not one of them. A few minutes was more than enough for me. When it came to Kingpin, the initial idea was a futuristic cyberpunk setting that later turned into a more contemporary one thanks to the involvement of a band called Cypress Hill. I kinda wish those two had less artistic input and stayed within the limits of music, because it sounds way cooler than a sort of a generic setting the game ended up having. But nevertheless, the atmosphere and the mood are undeniably there. The game is very stylized, which is a trait it shares with Dishonored and Prey. Those games also have character designs reminiscent of paintings and comic books. In my humble opinion, this look is better and has more artistic value than the most realistic of graphics. Sure, photorealism has its place, especially for the sim genre, but I take Dishonored's looks over Crysis any day, all day. And gameplay too. And no hate to Cypress Hill, they're an awesome bunch, and their influence on rap can still be heard. The work they did for Kingpin also helps it stand out. The voiceover they did is glorious. The influence of Pulp Fiction is right on the nose here. I can't really blame them, that movie is a cultural milestone. It's too bad it was done so dirty by that awful reloaded version. Eerie, grand, oppressive structures dominating the landscape of traditional late 19th and early 20th century architecture serves as a great piece of environmental storytelling and simply a striking, gorgeous visual. Bringing actual art into the mix while working on a video game gives it a subtle but very distinct atmosphere. This magic touch is often overlooked and even more often goes unrecognized because to even notice it you need to immerse yourself in the world of concept art. This is made easier by having a background in design, architecture or arts. However, some people are just naturally visually inclined and tend to notice and appreciate the work that was put in by the art team. And to some it's almost like actual magic. They can't even place it precisely, but a certain something just stood out and made them fall in love. Antonov's interpretation and implementation of Wood's concept into a video game scenario transformed the world of Half-Life 2 into an intriguing one. By setting the stage in Eastern Europe and injecting the aforementioned ideas into it, the resulting imagery resonated with audiences immediately. Such a clever juxtaposition of historical architecture of unique periods in country's history speaks volumes without uttering a single word. And the aesthetics are just plain cool. Although the influences are sometimes downright obvious, the way they were incorporated and utilized in the actual game is what really made it unique. Somewhat surreal art piece that seems alien is a cool visual, but as an actual instrument, a machine of oppression, it's in its place. What's so fantastic about Half-Life 2 is how little is explained. You're given enough food for thought just by the subtle and sometimes not so subtle visuals and audio within the game's universe. I'm absolutely convinced that for any successful piece of media that tries to go for a compelling setting, leaving room for speculation is essential. And if nailing this mystique wasn't enough, the details were also hit right on the head. The way organic, fluid creature designs of Ted Beckman and Dabi Ang contrast the sharp, angular designs of Victor and Troy Nguyen. The way synths are marked, emphasizing the fact that a living thing is being mass-produced, is just another level of perfection. And nothing needs to be said about it, it's obvious just by looking at it. I'm not gonna say what's been said to death already. I will only reiterate that Raising the Bar is a must-read for any Half-Life fan. Drawing inspiration from his Bulgarian heritage, he used a lot of reference materials, mainly photos taken in his home country as well as Russia and Romania. The unique and vibrant atmosphere of Eastern Europe worked as an, at the time, fresh and unexpected environment. It instantly clicked with gamers. Dishonored, on the other hand, feels like a work of an established artist who has nothing more to prove and is a perfect fit for an art director of a game that's meant to be a parallel universe 19th century England. The whole surrealist setting is elevated by the oil painting look. The stylized characters are complementary to the setting itself. And of course, the oppressive technology and grotesque but extremely cool-looking mechanisms are the centerpiece here as well. In my opinion, Dishonored is worth playing just for the reason of Viktor Antonov being an art director for it alone. You get to see how his vision evolved and refined over the years. He honed his distinct style based on the art that inspired him and further expanded on it in his later work. This is a perfect example of an artist growing while adhering to his unique language. The twist is this time, instead of looking completely alien out of place, in Dishonored it looks more like contemporary tech that is just function over form and just serves a nefarious evil purpose. And while achieving that goal, it still remains unmistakably the work of Antonov. With Dishonored 2, the team managed to preserve and expand upon Victor's original ideas further, and all the environments look like they fit perfectly. His input is credited in AAA projects like Fallout 4, Prey, and the acclaimed and beloved 2016 Doom. There are also 2 unannounced projects he was involved with, and furthermore, he even reprised his role as an art director in one of them. I really hope they won't share the fate of Arcane's The Crossing. It looked like a really promising game, but the would-be publisher did not make a good enough offer. The work itself and the assets were fundamental for Arcane Studios. It's also worth mentioning that very few games managed to incorporate the idea of crossing the single-player and multiplayer seamlessly. As it's been pointed out by Veritas, a Caritas YouTube channel, the work of Libes Woods carried a very particular meaning behind it, which upon closer examination contradicts the oppressive intention it was meant to represent in Half-Life 2. This is probably why Antonov never mentioned Woods by name, although the likeness is undeniable, almost to a fault, but using others' creations as a jumping off point is a totally viable approach. I personally see no issue here. Now, outright stealing someone else's work like the team at Bungie did is a whole different ballgame. Thankfully, with Viktor Antonov, it's not the case. The unique mixture of pearlescent blues and teals with darker blues used for textures of the combined materials became a calling card. This metallic sheen can be explored even further in half-lifealyx. Wolf has done an incredible job of preserving this aesthetic and further expanding on it. It's difficult to explain, but these screenshots I've taken don't do justice to how real all the surfaces look when you look at them through the helmet's lenses. It's honestly incomparable to anything else. It's especially reassuring and inspiring to see how Victor's influence is going so strong in so many creative collectives. Many games are keeping the aesthetic alive. Half-Life Alyx, Dishonored 2, Industria, Afterlight, Far Long Sails, and its sequel. I'm sure there are more. The style and aesthetics pioneered by the visionary architects and concept artists were given a whole new life within a new medium. Victor's legacy lives on, and that's the best closure one could ask for given the circumstances. Half-Life writer Mark Laidlaw announced the news via a now expired Instagram story, describing Antonov as our visionary art lead on Half-Life 2, brilliant and original, made everything better. He sure did. The founder of Arcane Studios and Wolfhive Studios, Rafael Colantonio, posted on X and Blue Sky. He wrote, "R.I.P. Viktor Antonov. I wish I told you how much admiration I had for you, but we get caught in our lives until a surprise like this hits us. You were instrumental to the success of Arcane Studios and an inspiration to many of us. Also, a friend with whom I have many fond memories." And these aren't just pretty words, I really do believe this. Dishonored's creative director Harvey Smith responded to Colantonio's tribute with, "All this about impact and talent is true, but I will also remember how much he made me laugh, with his dry, devastating wit." This dry, devastating wit can sort of be noticed in Victor's presentations and interviews.
From the Ottoman Empire, the Russians and the Germans, why not the aliens?
Pete Hines, former Bethesda marketing head, wrote on X, "Thanks for all the hours of joy you gave us, Victor. You will be missed." But for most of us who only knew Victor through his occasional interviews and of course his sublime work, we're lucky enough to have lived at the same time as he did and enjoy his unique taste and immense talent. Even though the man is gone, his work lives, and people all over the world are united in their appreciation of it. His passion is shared by millions and will live on forever. And if you want to see Victor's work outside gaming industry, you can look no further but buying his book. That is all I have for today. Thank you. Thank you for watching this and for appreciating Victor.